Hello everyone, Mr. Obviously Insane here, with my very first 30-day challenge. And if you've missed the first 5 days, don't worry. We're about to go over all 5 games in under an hour, so let's get right into it. As you may have noticed, our first game was Prison Architect. It was an indie game that has been recently picked up by Paradox, one of my favorite gaming companies by the way. And not just because they give me free things either. They're generally good games, they listen to their community, so I quite enjoy it. And when I heard that they picked this up, I thought I should give it a try. It's something that some people had been suggesting that I take a look at. I'm not sure if it'll be something that I do in the future. I was checking out the career mode. This is what you see here. I just went through, there's a career campaign, something along those lines. And we are setting up an execution chamber to put a prisoner to death for a double murder. So basically we're just getting everything ready for that, and I think the hard part for me was not really knowing where things were, because I didn't put the prison together myself, kind of thing maybe. So the free game, the free build or whatever might be a little bit more interesting for me. But in the short time that I did decide to check this out, I did just go through the campaign. I did play past just this first part, but to try to keep everything within underneath an hour, I just sort of compressed things, and some games that I enjoyed maybe a little bit more might kind of go into a little bit more detail on and stuff like that. But we're basically just waiting on materials. It seemed to have took forever. There was like 2 beds there, but nobody would do it, and I couldn't figure out why. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. I'm trying to will someone to put that bed in. Meanwhile, this dude died for some unknown reason. I'm sure in the little bio thing it might have told me why, but I did not look. I just found it odd that this bed was not getting built, but it was probably something that I was doing or wasn't doing. But we eventually get the bed in. I thought I maybe had to buy another one, but then it's telling me no, that it's right there, and here it comes. Finally someone to bring the bed and put it in, which I think got us the call from the CEO, which he's the one that gives us all the instructions. Yeah, it's time for his last rites, and I think they even tell us his story coming up here. They wanted a path. I think we had to do a few more details, and I think there's even some power that we needed to add. If I'm not mistaken, we have not hooked up the chair yet, so little bookshelf, off he goes. A little narration, now the tale. It's kind of a graphic game for something that's not so, you wouldn't think so, the little, pill bodies and things like that, but it's kind of a pretty dark storyline, which is kind of interesting. This leads into some other parts of the story, which is kind of why I sort of left it out. I don't want to ruin everything for you guys. I'd like to sort of leave maybe some of it up for you to maybe check. If you do like this game, or you maybe want me to check it out a little bit more, let me know in the comments section below. But we are just getting ready here for his execution. We are moments away, I believe. We just need to hook up all the power and make everybody sort of happy, because I think one of the side quests thing was to, look after the well-being of your prisoners, which I got the sense that you can, rule with an iron fist and maximize profits, or you could be Mr. Nice Guy. But here's a little bit more of the story. He's talking to his priest, getting his final passages, I guess. Blessing? Yeah. I guess it would be his blessings. Either way. We are about to finish up here, and we then go into day 2, and that is This War of Mine. This game I really, really enjoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I had a big idea of sort of how to play and stuff like that when I kind of got in, but the art, just the scavenging wasn't that bad. You have to sort of build everything as you go, and I even got these guys, I think, a meal at one point. It's quite a very interesting game. A lot can sort of happen, and I think all of your decisions affect the outcome. So in games like this, I tend to really sort of get intrigued by them. Here we are setting up for our first evening to go out and scavenge, see if we can find some materials that are going to help us with dealing with the war and, you know, the eventual problems that are going to come up. I'm not going to say anything just yet until we kind of sort of get there, but a lot of these houses we will go to more than once. I made sure that I kind of cleared them all out, checked sort of everything. Each situation is sometimes slightly different in the fact that some places have other people. Some of these people don't want to interact with you. Some of these people will interact with you, and that also is part of the challenge. I think for that door we needed a lockpick, and I don't think we had any at the time. So, and if we did, we didn't have them on us because I wasn't sure if we'd need them. But there's a little crafting station that helps you build things, and eventually you can upgrade it for more things. I thought that was kind of neat. The first thing I kind of think we made was probably the beds, I think. It's probably coming up after this one because I think we're gathering wood right now. So yeah, the raid. That kind of caught me off guard, not gonna lie. Did not see it coming, otherwise we might have been a little bit more prepared for that. I think I was kind of sort of going over the options for the evening as just a vague skim because I missed it that first time, but we do make sure in the future that we are set, or at least somewhat protected throughout the night while we go out and forage. But if you do not have, you know, success, as you've seen there, a guy or a couple, I believe it is, will come to the house or our little, you know, fortress here, and will trade with us. They will bring things that maybe we haven't found yet, or just haven't got around to making, and maybe they need some things that we have found, and we can kind of trade, which I thought was kind of interesting. You can kind of sort of find some like jewelry and some valuable type items that I thought would maybe be a little bit more lucrative, but I guess when it's war you can't really be too nitpicky. But I think maybe that's like my only thing. Sometimes that trader didn't really seem like it had much. We had some neighbors that were nice enough to give us some food, but quid pro quo, I think that's how you say that. I think down the line they ended up having one of our guys go and help them with something, but we got the radio going. I don't think it really gave me too much details that I knew what to do with, at least for this portion of checking it out. I might actually continue playing this game. I think we get to the start of day 13, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. We did a lot of scavenging. It was, this game, for as repetitive as it kind of sort of is, it's very relaxed, and that sounds weird because you're in a bombed out shelter trying not to die. But I think the combination of sort of the art and the playability just sort of blends very nicely, and having the three guys sort of makes doing everything a little easier than if you were just one person trying to maybe sort of survive on your own. So the whole idea of having more than one person or one character is kind of nice, but as you can see, there's 4 options: scavenge, guard, sleep, and sleep in bed. Once we got the beds, I was definitely putting them in there. It helps get their rest back up. Any wounds they might have suffered, they're definitely going to heal if you can find some band-aids or even some medication. Now this was a house that people definitely didn't want to interact, and I ended up having to duck into a little alcove without being spotted. So that was kind of interesting, not gonna lie. I didn't go back to that house, at least without some sort of weapon or something to at least protect myself with. But there were other places that had just a whole bunch of things. We did least I felt like I did very well. It seemed like it wasn't overly complicated, but the days sort of don't seem to last that long, but yet you know that you have to get these kind of things done, and then you have to make the decision who's going to guard, who's going to go out and scavenge, and each character has their own benefits and drawbacks. Marco was our best scavenger. I got really lucky, and after I think the first night where I didn't keep track of the time and he was sort of late leaving, it makes it sort of harder for them to get back during the day, I guess, because it's like shelling and snipers and stuff like that. So I almost ran the risk of losing my scavenger. Don't do that on the very first night. We got lucky and it sort of worked out. I only had to send out the other guys a couple times, and I sort of did manage to get all of their health up. The only thing is probably going to be finding food. I think is probably going to be like your biggest challenge. Not sure past a certain point if it just becomes like really scarce to find or something like that, but would be interesting to see. This was the supermarket, I believe, so there were some people here, but they were willing to sort of share. I got the sense that you kind of wanted to get there first, or you were just going to be stuck with kind of whatever was left. So I mean, most of the nights that I went out, I thought like I got good hauls, or I kind of sort of got what we needed. Sort of in the sense that I didn't want to waste too much of that inventory space, but at the same time I knew that if people aren't going to be coming back, or if it's been left here and I can get back to it again, then I could kind of just sort of pick and choose things, or if there's things in my inventory that I deemed less important for that evening, maybe left that behind, took the more important item, and went back to camp to build things or whatever. Because here we are actually getting the meal. Yes, I think I feed them twice or whatever, so they actually get a pretty good meal. I think that was however many days worth of starving or basically going on uncooked food. So I didn't really want them to get sick or anything, and I'm not sure if that's a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but there was definitely a lot of stuff to sort of check out, which for me, I like checking out things. Finding out what's inside something or seeing if there's, you know, some goodies is always great. We did manage to completely get our little cubby here, kind of, well, cubby, our hideout. I'm just gonna call it the hideout. We got that all organized, I guess, in a sense, of all the debris cleared out, and it's fully been scavenged. There's nothing in there that's debris-wise now that is left to be found. Everything is good, and I think that's actually an achievement, so there you go. That's something simple that you can maybe get for yourself, but as the time sort of went on, the more and more places were becoming available, but the conflict would stop you from sort of getting to certain places, so it would kind of make you think about where you wanted to go. I think there was maybe once or twice where I had thought I'd maybe go back to a certain place or go to a certain place, and I couldn't get to it because it was inaccessible through fighting, basically. Like, it's just not safe to pass. So a lot of those red things were sort of, you know, they really made me hesitate to start with, because you're not sure what they are, if it's another person or whatever, but turns out most of them were just like little rats that I couldn't figure out how to kill. I'm gonna assume maybe I need the gun for that, because maybe that's some extra meat you could cook up. I don't know. I mean, it does tell you that they're there, but I couldn't hit them with a shovel or crowbar, it would seem, so, or stepping on them. I tried that a few times, but it didn't really work. But the barter and trade, it is hit or miss. A couple times there were some things where it actually served a purpose and got me a meal here, because I think we needed water, and I don't necessarily know that that's hard to find, but it's something that you're probably going to want to make sure that you have enough of, because you need it to cook food and probably stay hydrated and stuff. But I didn't really see if there's like a hydration thing, but that might just all fall underneath being hungry and stuff. I think this was the library. It was a very big place. I don't think I actually got to check all of it, but there were homeless people there that some of them were okay, and I don't think any of them really tried to attack me, so I relatively got pretty lucky throughout that entire process, I think, but it wasn't too bad. Like I said, I really enjoyed this game, made it through 12 days, and I'll probably end up playing it again at some point in the future. But we're going to head on to the next one, which I believe is Stardew Valley, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was the day 3 game. This is basically just me going back to the library doing a double check. I think, like I said, it was mostly just the homeless. Day 3, right, that was Stardew Valley. I think we had some lag and some things, which you won't notice in the video, but it kind of made for a not so pleasant experience. It wasn't too bad. It seems like a pretty relaxing game, aside from the fact that smashing up them rocks and logs takes up a lot of your energy, and I found I was pretty much spent by 10 o'clock some mornings, because a lot of those things you were clearing, and I just wasn't really paying attention to that whole energy thing, and yeah, it cost me a couple times. But fairly interesting game. I mean, you could probably have crops for days once you sort of cleared everything out. But to start with, I figured let's check out the world and see what's around us, meet the people. There was like 20-something people we had to meet, so I just figured I'd do a bunch of running around, messing around, see what's going on. A lot of the things are time sensitive, so you kind of need to keep an eye on the time, and I sort of wasn't really doing that. Couldn't get some of the people to come out of their bedrooms, which was fine, I guess. It seems like a pretty interesting game, though. Kind of sort of gives you like a Pokemon feeling. It felt like maybe something was going to jump out of a bush at me and I'd have to prepare for battle, but it never did. But it was a pretty relaxing game. Just run around, chilling, meeting people. I think there was a backpack. So eventually, like, once you sell some of your materials and things like that, you'll eventually be able to have more inventory space, and I think that would have kind of been useful. Because I think I was trying to, like, clear out a lot, or maybe I was just trying to clear out way too much at one time. But, yeah, for the games that I've done this week, this wasn't too bad. I don't know if I'll play it again, though. Maybe down in the future, like way down the future. But yeah, it wasn't a bad game. I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't go check it out or anything like that. The art was quite nice. The detail is, I mean, it's like, what, 34-bit, I think, something like that. So it's one of those games where it's like, it's not going to be completely heavy on your PC, or at least it shouldn't. And yeah, just one of those fun go and whack things and then eventually plant and eat and sell and repeat. There was a lot of that. So I mean, if this is the kind of game where you like a lot of repetition, with not being overly bombarded by things to do, this is a very good game for that. The time doesn't seem to move too fast. I think it was just, I think I needed a little bit quicker pace to the game. I'm not saying that I need to like travel at 100 miles an hour like we're doing for the highlight, but I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm a very chilled and laid back guy. This game didn't really speak to me. Now I'm not sure if that was just the day in question that I played it, or overall, but yeah, like I said, I probably won't play it again anytime soon. I didn't overly hate it, but yeah, it was just, oh yeah, the inventory thing. I managed to pick up that oyster, stupidly, before this guy was giving me the fishing pole, and then it wouldn't let me pick up my seeds until I somehow figured out how to, I think I finally dropped that oyster somewhere. Yeah, and get my seeds back. Which is slightly annoying, because I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to get those seeds back, and yeah, they're, I think, the only thing that I actually planted. Once we kind of sort of go around and explore the environment and see what's in the world, which it looked pretty interesting. I didn't get the point of that bridge if you could just completely walk around, but I guess save some time. I did get lost once, I think. Might even be on the next day, I think. She was running from something. Or is this the... This might be the one. No, it's definitely the next day. Yeah. Because I think I end up finding another way to the old homestead here, which was left to us by our grandfather. We basically decided to say F the world, and we're going to be farmers for the rest of our days. But I made a little bit of gold off the things that I harvested and collected, but as you will see here later, I kind of lose some of it. I didn't really pay for the well. I thought it was kind of ridiculous, because I had to give her the money and the stone, when I basically could just do the well myself and save the money if it would let me. But we had that giant pond, so that'll let you fill up your little water tank. So that was water tank, a watering can, which sometimes you may see me like pouring it. I tried to help that guy out. I think the blockage does end up getting opened. I didn't have time to check it out, I believe, but yeah, we're already there. So it's like, when you don't really have a map, I kind of get lost in games like this. I'm horrible for sort of remembering where I've been or what's where. I realized it later where the backpack was, I think, in there. Yeah, there it is. But fortunately, it costs way more gold than we even had at that point, which is a little frustrating. Was I stuck in there? Maybe. Some of the movements were kind of weird, because you'd think that it allowed you to go this way, but actually it acts as like the wall for from the other angle. So it's just it was a little strange. But where was the? So I'm trying to remember which direction that I went that I got lost. So I was like, oh, we definitely haven't gone this way before, and then the next thing I know, it was getting really late, and I couldn't remember. I think this might be it. Stuff there. Little castle thing. Yeah, this is the adventure that we kind of went on, and I sort of get lost. Yeah, right here. This is where I'm like, where do we get back to? But that ended up being to the homestead, which was kind of cool. I didn't really read too much of the mail, so that could have been something important, but like I said, I didn't really get too far into the game, and it just, I don't know, maybe it was just me on the day, but it didn't really keep my interest for how I sort of like to play games or something like that. So it's like, maybe another day I'll give it another shot, but all in all, Stardew Valley wasn't really for me, I guess. I mean, it was fun, like I said, but just don't really think it was a game that I'll probably be doing in the future. But I think I was just running around trying to get more wood, to get more gold, because I seen how much the backpack was, and I realized, hey, you probably should plant those seeds at some point. So I think we actually do that here coming up, and that's actually kind of interesting. Plant them, takes a couple days for them to grow. and then you can either eat them for more energy, because I think at some point I was even going, why can't I, you know, sustain my energy more than just having to sleep? And then it dawned on me, well, why don't you plant some stuff? So you actually do have to hoe the ground. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. So make out a little garden patch, although it kind of got a little confusing, because sometimes the ground just wouldn't do things. Like, I'd hit it with the hoe and I thought it'd be good, and I'd try to plant something there, but it would say that I couldn't. And yeah, there was, I think, the first time I ran out of exhaustion, or I ran out of energy, and I passed out, and someone was rifling through my pockets, but I don't really think we lost too much there. And then I stupidly did it again, because I thought I had, because it passed out or whatever, I thought it put me in bed, or, you know, it recharges your energy. Guess not. It, I don't even think it went back to half, to be honest with you. And I ran around, did a whole bunch of stuff, and ended up passing out again. This time I think it cost me, though, exhaustion, so I think I had to go to the hospital or something. But decided to use a whole bunch of the seeds that I had picked up through my travels as well, just for, I don't know, extra cash, see what they did, stuff like that. But as you can see, there are some places where it's like I'm whacking it, and it's like I'm just, maybe it doesn't go right up to the grass, or I just wasn't sure. And sometimes I'm like, I had to hit that like 100 times. And that's what costed a lot of my energy, which, fair enough, gardening is labor intensive, but I was not expecting that. And there's our doctor bill for 100, and I think we're coming up on the end too, because I was getting pretty frustrated at this point with having to continually run in to sleep. Yeah, not even 10 o'clock, and days more or less spent, and just waiting on things, and yeah, it was like, maybe I just didn't get off to the right start or something like that, but it definitely felt weird. So maybe I was rushing, I don't know. We pick up our crops, I think I eat a little bit, sell some. Definitely make a lot of money, I think, cutting down those trees, but I didn't even try the big ones, because the rocks wouldn't let me do them with my regular pick, so I figured I'd have to like upgrade that, but took me a while to figure out how to eat the dang thing, but we did. Kind of cleaned up this sort of area around me, so it's like if I ever did go back to play, I could definitely have a spot to sort of start farming almost right away. We just have to get the seeds, would be my guess, because the gold situation could have been a lot better, but I wasn't really sure like what you're supposed to sell. I think you said you could craft things of your own, so I mean, I wasn't really sure how that worked either, or how it kind of played. This one was kind of a blind look at it, so that's what I say. I'm not saying that I hated this game, it just sort of felt weird playing that first time. But moving on, day 4 brought us Subnautica. Now this game, I had played a few hours before. I had checked out the survival, and I had checked out Explore, I think it's called, something like that. The difference between the two is basically in survival you have to worry about your food and your thirst. In the Explore one, which is the one that we did here, I don't have to worry about that stuff. Just have to worry about your oxygen and not dying, which easier said than done, by the way. You start out with very little oxygen, but it is quite easily remedied, and here we are getting some grapevine seed, which I think I accidentally made too much plastic, or not plastic, rubber, yeah. It might come in handy down the road, but right now for space, it was a bit of an inconvenience, but we get that. There's lots of titanium, so that was actually quite handy. I made a bunch of storage containers and things like that, so I edited out most of the evening stuff, so a lot of it is going to be the exploration, venturing into some caves, and a little bit of that storyline. We eventually do get our pod repaired, and start getting the incoming things. But as you can see there, I did accidentally somehow manage to make an extra oxygen tank. Oops. I use it later to do the upgrade one, so we have one of each. Not sure if it's actually beneficial or not, or if we can maybe scrap it later, but I got really lucky and found quite a bit of copper, which was very useful. It's needed for many of the things, like batteries and eventually like your power cell and stuff, but I was trying to figure out the sunrise and sunset and try to gauge time that way. It's a very beautiful Subnautica sunset and sunrise, by the way. But you do eventually get a compass. I wasn't able to make it here because I don't think I'd found enough silver. Early, I think you need like 6 to 8 pieces of silver to sort of get some of the things that you kind of need to get going, but take your time, explore. Get a lot of it done during the day as you can. Quickly get yourself the survival knife, and probably, as you see me using here almost all the time, the scanner. Do your best to get around and find I think there's a sea moth, but it's like the sea glider or something. It'll help you get around faster than just swimming, which can be rather time consuming. I still haven't figured out what to do with some of the creature eggs and stuff, but I believe there are future things that you can unlock and build that would allow you to maybe study or do things with those. I'm not too sure. That was the Aurora exploding, giving me, I believe, the lead suit, so that allows you to kind of get a little closer to that, deal with the radiation, which is kind of cool. Everything that you make, you have to craft, so I do kind of like that, which is why I didn't really go with the survival, because if you're focused more on just eating and drinking, I feel like you're not really getting to fully explore, especially considering I hadn't really checked this game out too much. Later down the line, I think we might try a survival run, because I'm definitely liking this game. I quite enjoyed it. For me, I don't really get too claustrophobic, so that shouldn't be much of an issue for me. I know some people have said that about this game, and there are some things down there that I have not met yet. As you've seen, I almost died there. Kind of just sort of getting turned around in a cave, which I'm not even that far down. It just sort of happens, but luckily we made it and all is well. Kept going. I believe there was a few pods that we end up going to scan. We've already been to one. I think this is the second one, and I'm not too sure how many messages we actually get. Like I said, I haven't gone too far with the story for this, but everywhere as I sort of went with whatever purpose I had, I always tried to make sure that I picked up something that we needed, or I was sort of trying to do some bit of scavenging. I'm basically just trying to, without having to make a whole bunch of beacons early, figure out where I am relative to like sort of my pod, so that eventually I can kind of go back and forth from certain areas just so that I can make sure that I explore all of it. There was a few times where I did get caught out at night, as you've seen there, but just swimming across the top of the water avoids everyone. I don't have to worry about oxygen, and as far as I can tell, I wasn't attacked once. I'm not going to say it'll never happen, but I wasn't venturing, I don't think, more than 1,000 meters from the actual pod itself, so we'll have to eventually start building the habitat. But like I said, the silver I think is needed for some of the wiring involved with that, and I didn't really find enough of it to sort of get to that, but that kind of made me want to maybe check this out after the 30-day challenge is kind of over, because this game, beautiful. I know it's probably moving a little fast right now, but it's very chill, except for when things are trying to kill you. And other than that, yeah, it's very interesting. I was very thoroughly intrigued with everything I did, everywhere I went, and it's almost like there's death around every corner, but I found a whole bunch of first aid kits out there, so I'm like, it might have been part of a med bay or something. So I might even want to go back and check this area for other sort of scannable type things, which will help us unlock blueprints, but a lot of the aqua life for the most part can be dodged if you're quick enough. The flashlight, well, pretty cool. Doesn't really show you much more than like what's right in front of you, which can be expected, but when you're in vastness of darkness, you'd kind of like to see a little bit more than what they kind of give, so it sort of makes it a little eerie. You might want to maybe know what's in an area before you sort of go venturing into it at night, because it does get very dark and very kind of spooky. And those pufferfish that are near the cave sulfur, oh man, they're so annoying. I've only managed to avoid them a few times. I'm not sure if they just swim, like if they'll turn around and come after me or not, but there's been a couple times where it's like they'll sort of go past me and I'll just keep going in the direction that I'm going and they'll explode and I won't be fine. But there's more than one occasion where I see it and I try to run, but the blast of the fish exploding itself still gives you a little bit of a hit, so it's not too bad. As you can see, I did not heal. We just kept going. These brain corals are quite awesome. They're scattered everywhere, and they will cheekily help you get a little bit more oxygen, so you don't have to set up a whole bunch of pipes early and things like that. But there are little things that shoot like spikes at you that you really need to be careful, because as you can see there, because I hadn't healed, that almost kind of cost me, so I had to go back and use a first aid kit. There was an avoiding of one of those pufferfish. They're basically located in the caves. They come out of the sulfur pod, so they're sort of protecting it, I think. But there's a vast area, like this right here. It's like an underground ecosystem or something that I'm like, I want to check it out, but it's really far down. I don't have all the equipment yet, and it's like I'm kind of tempted to maybe do the air pump and pipe thing down to there, but like I said, I want to figure out the habitat first. Maybe we'll set it up kind of close, so we don't have to go all the way to the surface to sort of empty out whatever goodies we might find or something like that, because your inventory can get filled up pretty quick. That's why I wasn't really picking up too many of the big chunks of like salvage metal and stuff like that, because a lot of those rock clusters that are formed on the side of things were early on are really just titanium. So I mean, you could find the scrap metal, I don't want to say everywhere, but it's pretty abundant early, and if you leave that and then the actual clusters become sparse to, hard to find, then I think each one of those scrap metals is worth about 4 titanium, and that would probably serve you better than at the beginning of the game when, you don't really have the space for it. So it's kind of just sort of an early thought process on that one. What are we doing here? I think this was another pod, or I think I'm swimming down to the barrier. I think we were trying to find some silver and at the same time do a little bit more exploring. Yeah, a lot of that is copper and titanium. Titanium you need for a lot of things, and the copper you need for some of the important electronical components. Like I was mentioning, batteries, and I think it's just batteries and power cells, but you also need it for copper wiring and certain other things. So I mean, the crafting aspect of this game was quite cool. I enjoyed it. I didn't think that it was too difficult, aside from the fact that you have to go find the materials, and some of them aren't exactly easy to find, but I did find some rather interesting things, like some diamond and some ruby, that I'm not too sure what I need to do with that, because as far as I can tell with most of the things that I've unlocked thus far, it didn't mention anything to do with those, so maybe it's something down the line that's more complex, so that might be kind of interesting, something to sort of look forward to. But it's a vast open world. There's just so much to explore that I don't even think I touched like 1%. It's incredible. The graphics in this game are just amazing. Those giant creatures, they sound kind of scary, but they'll actually keep you safe. Unless there's things hiding in there that shoot things at you, which do tend to get a little scary, but sometimes they have those brain corals floating on their back, so you can get a little bit of oxygen from them. As well as protection, I think, from like those poison-y type fish, the ones that just flew by and drop out little pods of a toxic gas. You can kind of, they stay clear of those big creatures, so it's sort of like you using nature to, you know, advance your survival. Just so much wreckage to explore. I thought that was interesting. Coffee machine. Don't know if we'll actually ever set it up in our habitat, but if we get to that point and we have the blueprints for it, I thought it might be kind of funny. Got another one of those cave sulfur things. There's a few of them. I think that was more or less all of them. It's a pretty good haul down there. I think I got some gold and some silver out of that. No, lead. But I did figure out, though, that the grapevine down there, if you cut it and eat it, it will give you food and oxygen. But it's just not a lot. And until you will see here a little bit later, I find some sort of landmass that has plants that can be eaten. There's probably a way to figure out how to harvest and grow those. But like I said, I haven't really got to that yet. But we are getting into the final stretches here of the Day 4 highlights. Kind of sad. I'm not really going to say what happens. You can just sort of see it and maybe look it up for yourselves, ask me about it. I hate when I'm right. It was something that I had called during the stream that if I hadn't stopped what I was doing to go back, would it have been different? I don't know. That's where it's like, in games like this, where every decision you make can kind of have an outcome left or right, it makes for a fun playthrough, and it also makes you want to play through it again to see if maybe you can change that outcome. Yeah, here's that landmass. Did a little bit of exploration. We found I believe some parts for the vehicle bay, but there was some pretty interesting critters around here, and I ended up getting landlocked. Now, luckily for me, there was nothing on the land that killed me. These little cave crawlers, I was told to stay away from them, according to my little PDA thing there. So we did our best to avoid them. I have no idea what that was, but that's what I was talking about with the creepy things. And I kind of got landlocked. I was 20-something minutes out from whatever little thing that radio transmission had told me about. And I ended up just getting stuck on the land. The night kind of rolled in. Like I said, we skipped most of the evenings in this, so that's why we didn't really see that. There was a tablet. I thought we had to like make it or something, but ironically enough, I went exploring a little bit more, and you'll see here that I found it. So we go down and take a look. Interesting. I don't know. You guys can sort of tell me, I guess. There was nothing really in it. All my systems didn't really know what it was. I found a couple data things that we were sort of able to decrypt. A couple power sources that I was like, those are kind of cool. So I grabbed them. But as you watch that timer, it's kind of counting down, and I actually hit a point where I was like, what? Yeah, right here. I thought I was going to die, but it's like an anti-grav thing. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Decided to not jump in that water on the off chance that maybe I didn't get out, but I didn't venture much further. Figured it took me a while to get down here. That sunbeam's probably going to be here right away, and let's check around us a little quickly. And then I remembered those creature things, so I'm like, well, I don't want to die before whatever timer here runs out. So we more or less just chill and wait. Unfortunately, the night kind of rolls in, but this is sort of where it gets kind of interesting and sort of really depressing at the same time. But it's also kind of what makes me want to continue playing the game, because from this point forward, I just want to know what the heck happens. But after this, you guys will see some Day 5 footage, and that is The Witcher 3. So sad. So sad. It's like, just stood there, like, really? Did that just happen? Yes. Yes, it did just happen. Luckily for us, the day rolls in, and that was it. So, I will see you guys for Day 5 highlights. Alas, the Day 5 highlights see me playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I hadn't played any other previous games in this series, and a bunch of people had recommended this game to me to check it out. Because I like to craft, I like to do the explory, so it seemed like one of those games that it might be for me. Now, I had played with the mouse and keyboard, which might not have been the best option for me. It's a bit of a struggle with some of the combat and things, but I do believe you can use a controller with this, so the next time, because yeah, we might try this game again. I did quite enjoy the storyline, and sort of where it was kind of going, the whole magic monster kind of aspect, and dream sequences. Those are always fun. We did go through the tutorial thing, but I skipped through most of it here, except for the videos and the cutscenes and things, which I felt sort of, as I was playing and watching, it sort of just told the story. I won't talk about, any of this stuff. I mean, it's basically, like I've already said, a dream sequence that leads up to the first entries into the world for your first few quests and things like that. This is basically just getting your fundamentals. If you want to play the game, you could check it out yourself, or you could skip it all and just kind of figure it out as you go. I did leave the tutorial thing on, so I did remove a lot of the tutorial menus and things like that to just sort of have an uninterrupted sort of game flow, and because I did sort of check everything out and read it to figure out what we were doing and stuff like that. But I do like these games where, like I said, you have to make choices and consequences. I think this game has alternative ending. I could be wrong, but I know that you can skip to say some things, or you can listen to it all. I like to listen to it all, just so that I can get as much of the information as possible. But the gist of what's going on here is that we're on the trail of the girl from the intro little video thing, and we're learning our way through the world and fighting monsters and meeting our horse. And apparently there was a way that I was supposed to be able to stay on the trail, but I wasn't figuring it out. So, like I said, I struggled a bit with the mouse and keyboard. I'm not exactly the biggest gamer with that. I know I do use controllers for certain games and things like that, or for racing games I generally use my wheel or whatever, but yeah, I'm just overly not familiar with action games and using my mouse and keyboard for that. But I will say this, the graphics are visually stunning. The world is absolutely beautiful. Detailing is great. I quite enjoyed it. The only thing that I guess really frustrated me was probably the mechanics, and the fact that, well, we'll just see at the end. I won't sort of ruin it, but there's a lot of interaction. So this is another one of those games that you can sit down, chill, seemingly go at your own pace, because leveling up and things like that, the game was even telling you to sort of make sure you have proper level before you go up against certain foes, or you're probably just gonna die. So it's like, alright, well, that's good to know. Basically just asking around town right now, trying to figure out our bearings, and dealing with the townsfolk, which I think sets up our first little mission with the griffin, which we've already sort of had an encounter with the trader slightly earlier in the highlight video here. But basically just running around the bar, talking to him. I thought I was done. Turns out I wasn't, but it eliminates some of the dialogue that I had already had to talk to for him, and later I didn't have to do it, so that's perfectly fine. There was a... did I fight the guys yet? No, I don't think so. There's a whole bunch of guys. I think we ended up having to sort of fight them. Kept it peaceful, just knocked them out, because I think if you use your weapons, it's not good. One of the tutorial things was just saying something about not breaking laws in towns and things like that, and I mean, you're already like a outcast type of person, so it wasn't too... Yeah, this is the... Tried to calm the mind, but it didn't really work, so beat them all up, and had a good laugh when that one peasant whose mind I decided to take over just sat down, chilled. Realized that I was going a little bit further. Probably should grab my horse, so we're heading off to talk to the Nilfgaardians about Yennefer, who is the girl that we are seeking. There was one of those situations where I kind of got stuck in a little circle, but there was a really overpowered enemy, and it was games like, get out of here. So I was like, on it, here we go. Yeah. Some of the stuff is actually sort of comical. I'm kind of remembering as I'm watching it the playthrough, and it's somewhat funny, somewhat dry, but this guy actually turns out to be a good dude. He's the one we brokered the deal with to go deal with the griffin, but first we have to go get some herbal medicine thing to set a trap for the griffin. Get a little bit of extra information about the guy. Probably didn't need it, but at the same time, we needed the stuff on the buckhorn, I think it's called, which is fine. And I think that's where we head next. So I think I was kind of hoping that if maybe I had it with me when eventually, because I think we find out here soon to go talk to some hunters that found the bodies of some of the guards that were nearest to the nest or something like that. This is the herbalist lady. There's nothing we can do for the poor girl that's been already attacked. Apparently she's gonna die. It's just sad. I mean, you could do some voodoo stuff, but if it doesn't work, apparently it's not going to be the best. But hey, at least he offered, in the sense of offering. But go for a little swim here. I just grabbed one. You may want to grab more. One was enough, luckily for me. But wasn't exactly able to execute. Let's just put it that way. We had a little trouble finishing. Yeah, here's that hunter that we had to talk to. He wasn't at home, so we used our little Witcher sense, which is actually kind of cool. It gives you extra information around, it gives you more information of the area around you. There we go. I don't know why that was so hard to say. Didn't mean to grab my horse there, but we follow this guy through the woods. Make sure we have my sword, because I think there's a couple beasties coming up here. Yeah, we have to kill them. I think the hunter dude shoots him a few times, so he actually kind of helps, but I ended up picking up the stuff. Wasn't really sure what it was. I don't really think I ended up getting around to taking a look at it either, but here's the body. He's telling us some stuff about him. Again, more exposition stuff that I basically just left it in for the video's sake, because it's kind of part of the cutscene, even though you're allowed to select at what point is read and things like that. But now basically you're just examining the creature's nest to get more information about how to best set up the trap. And then I think we have to head back and talk to the older dude that we came here with. That's kind of funny when I say older dude, because the guy that you are is like 100 or something. It's kind of interesting, but it's pretty sad. Apparently, the female was killed senselessly by stupid humans. Go figure. And now that's why the male is savagely going after anything and anything that moves. Yeah, it was hard to find the trail. It was kind of dark, but we head back to town. It ends up being like one of those little side quests, but I couldn't figure out something about window. I went to check the window. Something was back there was a bush. Seemed a little strange. I didn't worry about it too much as I had to go meet Vesemir. That's his name. Thank you, name on the screen. Yeah, you see, I kind of ran there. I went and checked the board to see if maybe something was posted there, but I wasn't going to worry about it too much because just focus more on going and dealing with that griffin and progressing with what we were doing. And like I said, didn't exactly go as planned. I do find it funny how he had no idea any of the information that I had prior, but yet he managed to pick out the perfect spot for an ambush. I mean, I suppose it saves you the time of having to go find one, I guess, but I just thought that was a little odd. One of the tips was always talk to merchants and things like that, and that was actually the dude that we rescued, so I thought maybe we could get something, but he didn't have anything for us. And, no, wait. But I had grabbed the only skill point I think I grabbed, I put into archery for sort of this kind of moment, and yeah, the crossbow didn't exactly work, or I wasn't firing it, and like I said, this doesn't exactly go too well. He finally figured out how to shoot it, but I don't think we really got too much of its health down, did we? Oh, maybe kind of close. But I took way too much at the beginning and didn't really have much to sustain life, and unfortunately he manages to kill. We're pretty close though, so we decided to give it another shot. This one, however, it's not the very next attempt. I edited out a few more, but as you can see there, it was not pretty. And I'm pretty sure he died first, not me.